Hi everyone, so today we're going to talk about annotated bibliographies, which is going to be your next major assignment in this class. Due partway through next week, and I want to think about what are they, why you should write one, and how you go about doing that. So first of all, what are annotated bibliographies? Annotated bibliographies are a bibliography, so first of all, a list of sources you consult as you research and write your paper, and they're annotated. An annotation is a note that you make on a text. So an annotated bibliography allows you not only to list all of your research in one place, but also to make some notes along the way. So why might someone want to do this? There are 4 reasons. I write quite a few annotated bibliographies for myself whenever I'm writing a research paper. And there's a few reasons why I like to do that. One is just to remember what I've read. Having a place where all my research is, and I've got some notes to remind me what that research is about, is really helpful, especially when I'm dealing with many sources. You know, if I've got a paper that's getting up to 25, 30, 40 sources in a project, I'm not going to remember all of that by the time I sit down to write, and so it's really helpful to have a place with some notes. Secondly, to critically process your research. So to be able to start not just remembering what was there, but to start having a place where you document your thoughts on that research can be really helpful. It can help you start making connections either between your paper topic and the source or sources and one another. It can also help you develop your own point of view. So the standard for annotated bibliographies is having 2 paragraphs per entry. And that's usually what I do. In paragraph 1, I usually have a summary of my source entirely in my own words and phrasing. I think this is super important because sometimes I use text from my annotated bibliography in my paper. If I have something really well phrased there, I'll sometimes use it if I need to quickly summarize a point of view in my paper. So it is essential that I have summarized that source entirely in my own words and phrasing to avoid all possible plagiarism. The second paragraph then is a critical response to the source. There's a few different options for how you can do that I'll go over on the next slide. So options for your paragraph 2, your critical response. There's 3 ways that I often frame my second paragraph, and these are ways I want you to try in your annotated bibliographies. First, you can do a rhetorical review, really. You can look at the rhetorical strengths and weaknesses of the source, sort of like we were doing especially early in the semester where we said, you know, these are the things it does well, these are the things it does less well, here are the appeals, here are the weaknesses, here are the fallacies. All of that can be part of your rhetorical analysis in that second paragraph. So that's one option. Option 2 is to do a comparison and or contrast between your source and at least one other source in the annotated bibliography. This is something I'll do a lot. I'll say, you know, I really enjoyed this article. It has a lot of really good points. It reminded me of this other article that's also on this same subtopic, but I find it interesting that one of these articles deals with it, you know, from this angle, and the other article deals with it from this angle. Or, you know, they're arguing opposite things, but, you know, with very similar methods. Things like that can be part of your comparison contrast second paragraph. And then lastly, another second paragraph could be thoughts about how you might incorporate this piece of research into your paper, either as a supporting example or as an alternative point of view. And this can be helpful too, just to start doing the thinking through what you want your paper to look like and how you want to be incorporating your research. So I've got an example here. It's kind of a silly example, and it's obviously shorter than what you will write for the actual assignment. You should have 2 full paragraphs, and these are pretty short paragraphs. But I'm hoping that this gives you an idea of what your entry might look like. And this would be an example of a second paragraph that's a rhetorical analysis. So here I say, and puppies are the best thing ever. John Smith explains the many benefits of pet ownership. He especially highlights the health and emotional benefits from increased exercise to emotional support. He ends his article by saying, "With all the benefits dogs bring to our lives, I don't see why anyone would ever not want to adopt a dog." So you see there, I have a nice little summary of the article in my first paragraph. Then my second paragraph is where I start my rhetorical analysis. Smith's article is very enthusiastic, and it even supports itself with a good deal of ethos and logos. He points to the emotional and health benefits of dog ownership, and many of his arguments make sense. By ignoring the risks of adopting a dog, such as the financial cost and potential allergies, though, his article ultimately lacks credibility. So, hopefully that gives you a sense of what your annotated bibliography should look like per entry, but your overall annotated bibliography has a few requirements. First of all, you'll need 5 credible sources, 2 of which should be peer-reviewed. I'm going to be putting information up on Canvas later this week in this week's module on what will count as a credible source, but the basic idea is to look at national publications, peer-reviewed journals, which you can find through Clovis Library's database. I'll try to post some information about that. And other things that come from experts in reputable publications. And then another thing is that at least one of your sources needs to be something that you think will mostly disagree with your thesis. So a good way to think of this, you might not even know what your thesis is when you start your research, but making sure that you have many different articles from multiple points of view, I think, is a good way to think about this. 2 paragraphs should respond, you should have a 2-paragraph response, to each source, like I just showed. And then you should make use of each type of second paragraph at least once. So if you remember over here, I gave you these 3 options. You should use each of these at least once in your annotated bibliography. So that's the end of this lesson. I hope it was helpful. And of course, as always, feel free to reach out if you've got questions about annotated bibliographies. Thanks. Bye.